Hi guys, today we're going to be doing section 1.2, which will have order of operations and it will also have powers in it. So some of this should be reviewed, but it's going to be a step aparter with all of the powers. So write down section 1.2 and then write down part 1, simplifying powers. Now this is an example. This is read as 4 to the third power, and this whole thing here, let me grab a pen. This whole thing here, that's why there's the purple, is called a power. And a power has two parts to it. Okay? The first part of a power is the bottom number, that bigger number there, the 4. That's called your base. That's the number that's being multiplied, or the number on the bottom, basically, is the way to think of it. So it's the number that's on the bottom, and then the number floating in the air is called your exponent. Your exponent is how many times to use a base as a factor. Now, a common problem, you might want to write yourself a little note here. A common problem is when some kids tell me that this equals 4 times 3, which is 12. And that is not the case. It is not what this equals. What a power means is you're taking the base of 4 and you're multiplying 4 times itself 3 times. So this means 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, and tomorrow I'm going to teach you how to do this using a calculator. But what you're going to end up doing is just doing 4 times 4 on your calculator times 4 again. And you get 64. Okay, because 4 times 4 is 16. 16, if you do 16 times 4 like that, you get 24, carry your 2, 4, 5, 6. So that's where that comes from. Okay. So we're going to do a few examples, then we'll move on to part 2. Examples. So this first one here, 3 to the 4th power means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, and what that means, 3 times 3, if I'm doing this in my head, you can use a calculator as well. 3 times 3 is 9, I know, and then another 3 times 3 is 9. So this is 9 times 9, which is 81. Okay, the next problem, we have a fraction. What this fraction just means is 2/3 times 2/3 times 2/3. We're doing it 3 times because that's the exponent. If I multiply across the top, 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Along the bottom, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. There you go. This one means 0.5 times, and I'm just going to use parentheses for multiplication here, times 0.5. Okay, so you would do 0.5 times 0.5, and you get 0.25. Okay, so those are our 3 answers. Now let's do part 2. Part 2, excuse me, let's jump back up to the words here. Part 2 is simplifying numerical expressions. Numerical expressions just mean that you're going to deal with numbers. And we have the order of operations because there's a set way we have to do things in order to get the right answer always. Okay, and you should know these already. I would expect that you know them. They're PEMDAS. Please copy all this down. P stands for the parentheses or grouping symbol. Sometimes something that'll be new to you will be brackets. They look like that. Or braces. And they look like squiggles. Then we have exponents. We have multiplication and division. You do those from left to right. And we have addition and subtraction. You also do those from left to right. I'm going to do 2 of these with you, and then you're going to try 2 on your own. And I'm going to leave them. We'll go over them in class. All right, so example number 1. I see 2 brackets here. And so we're going to look inside there first. And inside the brackets, I see parentheses. So I'm going to do this first. Now, hopefully last year you learned that when you do your work, it should kind of look like an upside down triangle. So I bring down the 3, bring down the bracket because I'm not changing that yet. 18 minus 6 would be 12. And then I still have plus 2 times 4. Okay, I still have my brackets, so I'm going to still continue to work on my brackets. Inside my brackets, I have a 12, and I have a 2 times 4. So I'm going to do multiplication before I do my addition. So I bring down my 12, I bring down my plus, 2 times 4 is 8, and I close my bracket. Still have my brackets, still have my grouping symbol. So I'm doing within the grouping symbols. 3 times 12 plus 8 would be 20. 3 times 20 would be 60. Please notice that my work is all coming down into like a triangle with my answer at the bottom. Okay, there's no equal signs at all. We're not equaling anything. You're simplifying as you go down each level. Okay, number 2, there are no grouping symbols, but there are exponents. So right here, that's going to go first. So you bring down the 5 times the 7 minus 4 to the second power, or 4 squared. 4 times 4 is 16, divided by 2. Okay, then I don't see any more I don't see grouping symbols. There are no exponents. Next is multiplication and division from left to right. So I'm going to do 5 times 7. I get 35. Subtract, and then I'm going to do this division, 8. 35, take away 8 is 27. Okay, so I'm going to leave for you to do number 3, try on your own. And number 4, I'm going to give you a hint. You're going to evaluate, this one is actually going to go across, it's not going to look like a triangle, but you're going to evaluate the top separately, and then you evaluate the bottom, and then you're going to see if you can simplify it at the end. And we'll go over this in class. Last part, part 3, is called evaluating algebraic expressions. So I'm going to give you an algebraic expression. That means you're going to see variables. And I'm going to tell you what the variables equal, and you're going to substitute in. So this should be kind of familiar, but again, we're adding exponents. We're building on what we have learned from last year. So in this problem, it says, what is the value of each expression when A equals 3? So we know A equals 3, and B equals 4. So anytime I see an A, I'm going to plug in 3, and anytime I see a B, I'm going to plug in 4. So my first problem, I have 3 times B. This doesn't turn into 34. This turns into 3 times 4. Minus A was 3, so 3 squared. So all I did was substitute in. Now I'm going to do the order of operations. I see exponents, so I bring this down. This just means multiplication over here. Just because it has parentheses, that just means multiplication. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I do multiplication, 12. 12 minus 9, and that should be 3. And that's your answer. Okay, I'm going to leave number 2 for you to do. So you have 3 problems in this video that I have not done with you that are yours to do. That's it. Have a good one.